In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Range Breakout EA by Mr. Jimmy Peter Erickson. So Jimmy's already published a few great EAs on the marketplace, and I've heard nothing but good things about him and his various creations. So excited to dive into this one, particularly because I'm also a huge fan of range breakouts and have developed many different EAs in the premise, so I'm quite familiar with the style of strategy behind it. So here what we're seeing is that this bot is indeed a range breakout, but it's a bit different than your classic opening range breakout in that he's really looking for the volatility between Asian and London sessions. And this is a bit different than, for instance, the classic opening range breakout style strategies that, for instance, some of my bots are based on, where you place a buy stop and a sell stop prior to a market session open, and that will be like a more like classic scalping style breakout. This is more of a almost like swing or intraday swing style system where you're capturing a much bigger chunk of the move. And you would typically need less leverage to do this, and you'd also be a bit less spread sensitive. So there's pros and cons to both approach, and frankly, using a combination of both I think is pretty optimal in a portfolio. What we can see is that this particular bot trades gold, dollar yen, Bitcoin, US 30, and DE40. So all of these assets are probably the best that you can possibly run on opening range breakouts, just because you have sufficient volatility and low enough spreads for this style of system to work. So yeah, that makes complete sense. He's not using indicators or fixed time frames. He's using more of a time-based system, which is also great because you significantly reduce your risk of overfitting, largely because if you can pick a logical time, that's like actually when a market is about to open, when there's like a real reason as to why price would fly up or down or start to move between certain points, that's usually a really good place to start, just because you mitigate a lot of your overfitting risk if you can do this. And here what he's saying is that he gives different set files for each of the markets. This makes also a lot of sense because, for instance, the breakout of US 30 versus DE40 will be completely different, right? Because DE40 would track the German markets, so when Frankfurt markets open, there tends to be a lot of volatility, whereas US 30 obviously tracks the US markets, so when the US markets open, there's going to be a lot of volatility. He also has some different things here for FTMO and various like drawdown and protectors and risk management settings on the actual EA, all of which look really, really good. And at the same time, one thing to note here is that it's also broker time specific. So when you make any sort of time-based bot, it has to obviously match the MT5 which you're running it on. So if you see anything like this, where it's like you need GMT plus 2, GMT plus 3, that's usually a telltale sign, and he's not even trying to hide it here, that you need to have a broker that time is matching, because time is ultimately the trigger. So we know exactly how this thing, well, not exactly, but we have an idea of how it works. He's looking for intra-session breakout moves on probably the best breakout style pairs, and timing is probably the trigger. So most likely it's executing at a given time. So now we can run ourselves a back test to see how exactly it looks over the span of a year. I ran this one on gold, and we're seeing a 30% return with roughly a 7% drawdown. We have a 50% win rate, but a very positive risk reward. Overall is looking really solid, really good equity curve, nice bigger moves between sessions. We're going long and short here, so he's not just overfitting to gold having been very bullish, and really tracking those big moves between sessions. From what I can see here too, he's entering market buy, which is quite interesting. He's even using randomizers for prop firms, all of which looks really, really logical. Now let's run ourselves a quick visual back test to see if we can get any more information. Quickly check the inputs, some different risk management settings. There's a few day of week filters, breakout filters, a few indicators like ATR. So most likely he's, some of his stop losses and TPs are based on ATR. Makes sense. That's average true range if you're not familiar with it. So good there too. Classic range breakout style system. And yeah, breaking out of the previous high of the range. So he's placing it looks like he's actually doing market buy or market sell at the end, at the beginning of the range. Closing position. I'm curious as to if he's doing a market sell here. Maybe he's only going long, or if he's waiting for a confirmation, perhaps. Yeah, those are indeed market buys. Okay, so that's definitely a market buy. So he's not using pending orders, he's just buying at the breakout. Perhaps there's a few different additional filters here. So overall, guys, this is definitely a real bot. And let's check out the live signal as the last thing here. I believe this is it. We can see that he's been running it for a while and really good profitability. It made 139% returns last year. So far, he's had a bit of a drawdown in the beginning of January, but that's totally normal. Drawdowns can happen, especially if he's running stuff like dollar yen or DE40, which might be a bit less smooth than some of the US pairs. But overall, a very, very impressive system. There's definitely something here. It's a real strategy. Jimmy makes good bots. It's also kind of unique. It's a bit of a different range breakout system than many others. So I do think this would likely be a good addition to one's portfolio, particularly given the very economical price. It's probably a good additional bot to kind of add in with a further basket of breakout style and opening range breakout style systems. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you have any comments, please leave me one in the comment section, and I will definitely get back to you there. Cheers.